Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, Sergey. I'm sorry. Indeed, let me know. I guess you can hear me, you can see me. I have the first reaction. It's good to have you back with us on this fourth session. As always, we wait a couple of minutes so everybody can join in. Zoom doesn't allow for everybody to pop in at the same time. Indeed, my colleague Jelena Cipanina has entered in the chat that translation is available. Доступен перевод. I guess you know how it works in the meantime. Hi everyone, здравствуйте. Wonderful, good to have you with us tonight. With again a very interesting lecture. I'm very much looking forward to it myself. We had a nice pre-discussion with the speakers of tonight. Good evening. Good of you to be with us again. Fourth lecture. Next week is our last week with 2 more lectures to go, which promises to be interesting as well. Obviously, we only selected the best speakers for you and for ourselves. Yes, you attended all the previous lecture. That's nice, Sergi. Who else did actually? Can you let me know in the chat who else has been following us for all the lectures so far? Or maybe you can just put in a number if this is your first, second, third, or fourth lecture that you are joining. And hi, yes, everybody. 4, wow. 4, 2, Irina. 4, everybody, 4, wow. And you know, I saw Irina with 2, 1 from Dina. We have put them online also on YouTube, so you can see them there. So we have a lot of very loyal audience. A lot of them having seen 4 of 4 lectures, some 2, some 3, but understand it's your free time, of course. But again, we're very happy that you're with us tonight. I think Pascal, why don't you join me? I've babbled, I think, enough.
Hello.
Hi, Pascal. Good evening. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Jake.
Yes.
Hello.
we can say that we also had it's our 4th lecture. We didn't skip any. So I'm happy to see you again, Pascal. And I think you agree with me when I say that we're going up for a nice 4th lecture. Very diverse, I believe. And I also think it's it must be very interesting for the Russian audience, because you get a taste of something that you know and something that you don't know. I think it will make it very, very special tonight.
Yes, and dear audience, welcome everybody for this wonderful evening. I hope you do have safety belts to be fixed on your chair. Well, as Jake already mentioned, tonight is the 4th lecture of the Smoke of Dutch Design and Architecture. And this evening we do have 2 lectures and 3 speakers. A small warning for you, dear audience. Our first speaker wants to change your way of thinking. By shifting functions between objects, components, or spaces, he is questioning the standard design approach, where form follows functions. He tries to achieve an endless lifespan, a circular way of using resources, where anything can become something else. He builds pilot projects in architecture, interior design, and public space. In this lecture, he would like to tell you more about it and introduce new concepts. Well, our first speaker is Denis Outendank. He actually is based as an architect at the Technical University of Delft. He looks at the world without a manual. The goal of his design approach is to change the way we look at design by changing people's perception of and shifting the functionality of every object on Earth. He gives new meaning to objects and tries to find solutions which are within anyone's reach. Functions are temporarily and do have a lifespan. In architecture and design, he, together with his team, is questioning the standard design approach, where form follows function, and they believe that their methods meet the goals of circular thinking, prolonging things' lifespan to endless. Dear Denis, I would like to give the floor to you.
So, hello. So my name is Denis Outendank. I'm from Refunc. Refunc is a small company based in The Hague and Berlin. And today I have for you a little slideshow. So I want to share my screen. Where is the slideshow? The keynote is here. Let's go to the keynote. Where are my notes? And go to play. So this is it. Everybody can see my screen, I hope. So Refunc. What we do in
Denis,
yeah,
we cannot see your screen.
you cannot see my screen.
No.
Okay. Why is I can see my screen?
Well, yes, and we just tested this, so it will work. Give us a minute. Yeah.
Hold Shift, multiple windows, scroll last time, share.
Yes, now I see. Yeah, and now you.
Now you
play.
see it?
Yes, now I see it. If you...
Yes. Okay. Technology.
Yes.
So, Refunc on Earth. The date. So, like for every project, we have a hands-on approach. Hence the gloves. Like every project, every material needs another way of touching, of using, of managing, and we all live on Earth, and Earth is a place with a lot of resources. But this is like the picture of how much water is on Earth, and the small little blue ball is the sweet water on Earth, the drinking water. And every object on Earth is made from molecules, atoms, which are in the periodic table. And what we do with Refunc, we designed our own periodic table, where we see man-made resources as products, as half products. So we like to play, we like to design, we like to look for different functions in any object. And this works out on our website, which is divided in projects, materials, functions, solutions, and people, because our tagline is reconnecting people and material. For this also we designed our own periodic table, and this is fresh from the press. This will be presented in Berlin in the Institute of the Future, the Futurium, but in 2 weeks. So this is a pre-release where we have a matrix of objects we use and the functionality we give it. And this you can check later on our website. So the planet is green, and we love to be green, but alas, men, architects or industry, they make a lot of ugly things and a lot of waste. But we like to go to a more biological architecture, which is like this ancient hut. But what we like to be more to see more as a resource is man-made resources. Like this was in a project in Portugal where there was this really nice garbage dump, and every time I look at it, I see a lot of interesting materials like washing machines or little cars, little wheels, a lot of fridges, by the way. Fridges are made completely wrong because you have like one big metal thing with an insert and foam. So it would be better to design a fridge in a way so you can take it apart. So after its first life, it can become something else, like more like part of a facade or a window. And Refunc, so it's Jan Corbus, it's on the left, and me, I'm looking for something to find in the trash. Yeah, we like to play a lot with trash cans also, and we like to play. So I'll take you to a tour of our projects around the world, where this was in a township in Johannesburg or Durban, I keep forgetting. But there we got some old Dutch bikes, and we connected them to the garbage bins, and where we're trying to look for some new resources in our homemade garbage bike. And a lot of products also we made from car tires. Car tires are like 400 million car tires built a year, I think, and they last for hundreds of years. But it's really good material to work with. Like this is in Cape Town, where we worked by hand because the local nuclear power plant was broken down again. So we had to cut tires and drill holes with homemade tools to make chairs and toys. And also other swings we made. Like this is an this was in Durban. This place was filled with junkies, and we changed the function of this junkie alley by adding toys and swings and colorful lights. So kids were playing there, and it became a much better neighborhood. And of course, if you cut a tire, if you cut out the side of a tire, which is called the cheek, you have this leftover, because normally we only use the thread, the flat surface. And we use this to make a curtain at the former Ministry of Finance. So we turned it into a temporary architecture, but also temporary interior. This was for this old VOC warehouse in Rotterdam for electronic pop stage, where we were not allowed to put one nail in the wall because it was a monument. So we lifted up the floor and we made a big furniture working sound system where it ends up in the base, and there were CD players and CD disc and amplifiers. So it was a really nice thing to do. But also you could use car tires as roofing material. It was for a client who wanted to have like an extra bed, or no, he wanted to have like a higher bed in his house, so he could have a desk underneath the bed because he got a new kid, and he could have the bed upstairs. But he already had like this little garden house in the back. Funny how like all Dutch people have like Swiss architecture, small houses, small garden houses in the backyard. So we demolished his garden house, the little one, and we turned out the door upside down, and we got the whole model of the house and we changed it into another house where we didn't make any drawings. So he wanted to have an extra window. So he asked, can I have a window there? Sure, you can have a window. So, and this is in Lithuania, where we make with one of our colleagues, Mantas Lesauskas, we made this beautiful chair. It's called Mantas, and it's quite hard to make. And it's quite comfortable also. And they also featured in Venice. We were asked at the Biennale some years ago to put them in front of the Italian pavilion, which is funny that as the Dutch architect designer, you work for the Italian pavilion. And also, we try to find and to look for things which naturally fit together. It's like this audio speaker fits perfectly in the car tire. And it almost looks like a product, but of course we don't make products. We make inspiration, and we try to find a new material every time. This was one of our older materials we used. This is reconnecting people and material in logistics, because there are a lot of waste flows in logistics, like pallets and containers and foils, etc. And we like to play around with this. This was a floating island we made in Vilnius in Lithuania on the river, and it actually took 3 electricians to get it working, because it wasn't working on 12 volts, it was just working on 230 volts, which is the standard power supply in Europe. And it was a floating island for an art show. And then this is an we tried everything with this IBC. This IBC is an intermediate bulk container, so we tried to make it into a mobile architecture, like tiny mobile homes, lights, and in the end we are like done with it. But then we got asked to do the interior for the Manifesta, which is a big exhibition in Belgium, and this was in a mine. So of course, in a mine, it's really dark, and it really helps to make this really nice lights. And here you can see where the detail is of these frames, the metal frames. We cut them, but we cut them so in such a way. This is the children's playground we made at the same space with the colorful lights. But the library, of course, in the library, the lights are green. You know, these what is it, copper lights you have in libraries, and you have these green lampshades, hence the color green. But we folded the metal frames back in such a way so they would incorporate the books. So that's like an extra functionality, which we didn't design, but we found it. It's like we're asking the objects we work with what they want to be, and well, what can they become? And of course, we fail a lot, but it's good to fail, but you have to fail fast. So we made architecture also with the IBCs. This was a really tiny little hotel room with the metal frames again, and then we used shrink wrap, which can be reused again later. And it was a tiny hotel room in Amsterdam, and I think 50 people slept in it in a month's time, in 2 months' time. So there's also like a pallet. This was a fun thing. We used a lot of these tanks for festivals. We did this like years ago for Lowlands Festival, and they asked us, can you make a big wall to guard like an installation? It was like a camera installation of the Matrix, the movie. But of course we can make a wall. So we made the wall with the light, and what they didn't ask us was to put like the text in. So we put the text in. I wonder if everybody can read it. It says worst. That's the Dutch for sausage. And it changed also in the German word Wurst, and then to Durst, which is thirsty in German, and then to Dorst again, just by putting like broken lights in it, so they would go on and off. So we changed the text also. And this is a fun thing. And normally I ask like people if they can tell what it is, but of course this is a online lecture, so maybe in the chat someone can ask me or can tell me what it is, what they think they're looking at. But I don't know how this chat works, so there's another close-up. And we made a lot of lights for the Amsterdam Museum Festival, where we got asked to make like 60 lights for every festival. Oh, there's a question. I don't know how this works. Can I go here? What is this? Question and answering? No. But anyhow, you can see again. This is the same things. It gets much clearer now, I think, for people to see what it is. And of course, they are pallets. And actually, they're plastic pallets, because we love plastic pallets, because they have this really nice graphic free graphic design, which you get like it looks more like stained glass than plastic. And of course, there's several kinds of plastic pellets, and they all have the different graphical layer. And in this one, we actually painted the front ones white, so they have a bigger contrast. And these are the pellets again. And this was for a project in Berlin, where we made a super nice facade for a store. Of course, temporarily, but it really looks like, I think it really fits with the Baroque architecture, which is behind it. So then we come to Kazakhstan. We made, well, actually, we were asked in Kazakhstan to join the first public art festival in Astana. And the thing was, we ordered some pellets. We wanted to make like a big yurt kind of structure, like a dome structure. And then we arrived, and then the pellets were completely cheap, broken pellets. So we're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? But because they were so cheap and broken, they could really be bent, because they were like this cheap Chinese one-way plastic pellets. We could bend them and just fix them with tie wraps. So Jan and me, we built this dome in 2 days. And the fun thing also for you architecture students, like this is in Astana, and all the background, the buildings are made or designed by Norman Foster, but you also see the little black squares in the facades. That's where the windows fell out. So it was really dangerous to walk there, because the windows could fall on your head. But this was a really nice dome, and it was extra light also, because it's with the wind it moved a little bit. We found out after a day, and when I see it myself, I think I still like it. I think I need one at home. Yeah, Refunc. Refunc means funk, of course. It's derived from refunctionalizing. So I told you it's like Jan Corbis in Berlin and Denis Outendank here in The Hague. And what we do is we change the function of objects. That's what we do. And how we do it, we do this by designing. And we work in the field of education for universities. We make interiors for companies, and we make small architecture we call art installations. And what we do is we we try to listen to the objects, what the objects want. As for this thing, it's a fridge, and we were asked by a Lithuanian company to do something with their fridges. So they had like 800 fridges, and all the gas was taken out, and we turned them. We thought, well, they're really nice bricks, so we turned them into a really big wall, like more like a Chinese wall, and we used steel sort of cable wrap things. I don't know the English word for it, but like cargo straps from steel to fix them. And this was a temporary project, but in the end it stayed for 3 years. And it also said, it was for the company which was called EMP, and EMP is also like electromagnetical pulse, which means it destroys every electric object on Earth, but they only destroyed fridges. And the fun thing was that the inspector of the government, he drove by and he called the director of the company, like, what are you doing? And then the director could say, like, well, it's art. And then the inspector said, oh, then it's okay. And of course, in the Netherlands, here where we live, we could never do this. It would be illegal to work with fridges. And this is also, of course, the picture is taken with a very low perspective, but I'll just leave it here for a minute or so you can think and see if you can find out for yourself actually what it's made of. It was a product we got in Kuwait. We did a project in Kuwait, an art project, and we had 60,000 of these red and green elements, but we only unpacked, I think it was 4,000, which took us like a day and a half to unpack because they were all wrapped in plastic, or they were on a pallet wrapped in plastic, in a box wrapped in plastic, and then you open the box and there are little boxes in it wrapped in plastic. And of course, maybe by now you know what it is. They're audio cassettes. They're like the old-fashioned, old-school audio cassettes, and they're actually much smaller, of course, than in this picture we're suggesting, but it could be like architecture. And we call this project Audiopolis, or Audiopolis. It sounds sort of Greek town for audio lovers. But we just changed this the function of the cassette. We used just a tie wrap to make it like interlink, so we could have like a sort of connects or our own audio Lego system, which was really fun to do. And we build it and rebuild it, I think 3 times, and it's still in their collection somewhere in Kuwait. Then we like to stack things, and no one will know what these things are, so I will tell you. They are the polyurethane suspension blocks of offshore machines. Like through one of our clients, we got like 1,000 of these objects, and we use them in this way to make that's Jan also. We used it to make a modular interior table system for a theater company in The Hague, where it's actually made from these red blocks combined with the white panels are actually from an ice skating ring, but an artificial ice skating ring. So it's, I think it's polyethylene combined with wood, multiplex, or plywood, I must say. So it's polyethylene, plywood, polyethylene product, which is really bad to recycle because it's a combined laminated material. So it's like 2 waste flows in one. So it will cost some money to get rid of it. And the company in Germany, they asked us if we would want it. And of course we said yes. So we turned it into a little a table system. So there's this short video of how we did it. We just stacked the blocks, just like if you've seen it once, anyone can do it. And we used the cargo straps, our special own-made cargo straps, and it said these things say they said reconnect people and material. We also had some ones in Berlin we made, and it was the cargo strap, and it said do not use. So people won't steal it. That's quite handy. Okay, reconnect people and material. And again, there's another movie. This was for a project in Poland. where we got asked to make people aware more of the plastic they throw away for the water bottles and the big water cooler bottles. So there's a movie here with some sound, and it will play. So it's slightly off. So it's not audio police, but aqua police. Of course, it was for a festival, so it's light and music always attract people at night, and heat also. So we had our own labels on the bottles. On the labels it said like all this this information. Water. That's already some time ago, I see. Bam. And from water bottles, we go to the bigger containers we have in the Netherlands, and probably also you have in Russia. They're silos, and these silos are normally used at farms for the nourishment, food, what's it called? Voedsel in English. Dinner for farm animals, but it's kept in these silos, and we love these silos, and we made some nice architecture with it. And this was like for an art exhibition in the south of Holland the south of the Netherlands for the Van Gogh house. Van Gogh, famous painter, and his house was there, etc. And this was in the middle of nowhere on the farmland where you could make a tour. So you could walk and you could go in and up and sit in it. So you have a high viewing point. And the other silo we had one was the Bauhaus in Berlin. They asked us to join in a tiny home exhibition. And on the left, you see a beautiful tiny home from someone else, the silver one. And of course, our tiny home is even tiny home on a trailer, but connected to its own trailer, and it can fold. But you can also grow your own organic tea in the yellow crates, which are old fishing crates we got from the harbor. So you could go on the trailer, pick some flowers, and go in the yellow lemon loft, we call it, because it's like yellow and lemony, and it's a loft. And you could sit in there, where we made this beautiful interior from wood, which was made from the leftover, actually, from the backside of the drops parts of the archive from an old bank we robbed. No, it's a bank we refurbished. We made a new interior for a bank from the old interior, and we used this wood to make this interior in this silo. So you could sit here with maximum, I thought it was 14 people. And of course, we make drawings because, hey, we're also architects, but we're more like idiots than architects sometimes. But this is like the plan view of another silo project we did in the Hortus and Haren. This is a section where you have the entrance on the right, and then you have the wardrobe, and then the toilet area, and then the sitting area, and then sort of light and a bed. But it's turned out to be this, where it's a folding bed, so that you can fold over the bed, and then you have a bed for two people. And there's a big skylight, so we cut off the nose of the silo. If let's see, here you see these silos all have like the little bottom thing. We call this the nose, nose cone. We cut it off and we made a hole in the roof and we stuck the nose cone through the roof outside to become a window. And then we ordered these windows, and then we found out like this factory was in Amsterdam, and we were in the north of Holland in Groningen, in the Hortus Botanicus, where this house is. It's a retreat, by the way, for volunteers. You can sleep there, but you also have to volunteer in the botanical garden. But I ordered the skylight, and then I found out that they also make really big skylights, but on demand. So in the design, there was not the skylight, not a round window on the end. In the end, so like this window, we got it in the morning before the opening. I drove to Amsterdam at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I could get back with the window. We cut out the hole and we fixed a really super nice window in it, and it's a lovely project. Then there's another side of project we did. We built it in The Hague in the harbor, but it moved to Berlin, where now it's the artist residence of Jan Kurbis, my colleague. And it's at the ZKU, which is the center for ZKU, Centrum Urbane Kunst, the urban art center in Berlin. And it has this lovely interior where this is sort of, how do you say, well, it's a story by itself. You see the table in the middle, but the table is actually on top of a bath. So if you sit on the floor, which has floor heating on 12 volts, low voltage floor heating, you have room for your feet. Then you can also drop down the table, and then it's a bigger floor. But you see perfume slides, a small kitchen, some leftover harbor poles. There's no stairs, but a climbing wall on the left. And so it has a basement, and this is like the living room kitchen, and this is upstairs, where it has beautiful. We found beautiful old drawers, but we fixed them in this system, and small funny chairs and a little tiny balcony, of course, where you can watch. You can put your head out outside, I think, only. And this is the thing at in Scheveningen at nighttime. It looks more like a spaceship. And of course, another project we did together, because we work a lot with other people also, like Raamlabor and Constructlab and Exist. And this was with Constructlab in Berlin, where we're asked to make the facade of this building. So we did research in the neighborhood. We call this harvesting. Like we have harvest maps where you can find any object within like a kilometer, or so it's either in distance or it's in time. So like it's a half an hour drive, and then the material is still local. And this material was really local because there were old chalkboards, school boards to write on in schools with chalk. So actually there was a problem with graffiti, and here graffiti is allowed as long as you do it with chalk. And here's the picture of the school boards. Like that's like with more existing materials, but we also use material as material. Yeah. So it's reconnected people and material through design, where we made we made this lovely table. Actually, there was a table we made from 10 different material flows. So it's aluminium cutoffs, leftover from park benches, plastic or recycled plastic, which was used for a floating house for boats, and we got it for free. Some old desks, plexiglass, found plexiglass setup, but it's a table for 2 persons, so you could sit on one on the end and one on the other end. But we also thought it would be nice if you could walk on the table, so you could go down to the lower part and then just walk on the table and just take the discussion. In the same office we made, we were trying to go hybrid, so we worked with bamboo. And the idea actually was to combine them with scaffolding clamps, normal building clamps. And of course we filled with this because we didn't do that, because bamboo has like a different size everywhere. And I thought, well, actually this looks nice. But Later in this project, we had to be really dynamic because the client, it changed the commission 3 times during this project. First was like an office space for a director and a secretary. Then it became a meeting space, and then it became a waste lab space. So we had to change its function during the design. And then we did this by adding, you can see it here, it's leftover solar screens. You know, you have, okay, what's it called? Oh yeah, vertical blinds. They're like the vertical white plastic sheets which you can turn and put in the window. And we use the leftover pieces of the same company, of their other office, to close their own office. And what we really like also is like this old Sinclair C3 bike, which is like one of the first miniature electric cars, which completely failed. It has a frame by Lotus, and it is a very sturdy ABS top shell. It's really lovely, but failed completely. But we love like failed design. And of course, we make these jokes. We were asked by a local academy to do a workshop with waste materials and students. And said, well, yeah, well, let's not do it, because mostly the result of a workshop with waste materials is more waste. So I talked to them and said, well, why not go circular? And of course, circular is already there. You can just rent any stuff from a renting company, mostly for events. What they had, the most lovely material were these folding seats. So we used the folding seats, we rented them, and a bag of tie wraps, and we made this circular pavilion. This was in Berlin. Yeah, this was in Berlin, where you could still sit on the inner row, not on the outer row. And we make this joke, what I told is like, we're circular architects because we only make circular buildings. And in my own slang, this sounds really, in my own slang, it sounds funny. Anyway, the only leftover product of was what you have of a product like this is a bag of broken tie wraps. And if you're really careful with it, you can also open the tie wrap. So they should just make like better opening tie wraps, but they also should be flame retardant, because it was in Germany and they all have like these rules. And then, yeah, of course, we're in the fun part. Refunc also means fun. So this is a part of our team. Our team consists of like 2 people, the minimum, or 1, not 2. 2 is the minimum, and then 50 is the maximum. So there are our team, and we're working now on I'm going to end this, on the hybrid catalog house, where we design a house. We have a normal scaffold frame with bent aluminum pipes and some vertical pipes, and it's in the Institute of the Future in Berlin. And we made 15 different versions on Earth to show, to see if the concept worked. So we're building one in Germany, from the interior from beer tables, and the exterior from how do you say that? You have these pieces of wood where you can clamp a piece of paper in. I don't have one here, but it's like to fill in forms. This is the one we did we're doing in Chile. So it's made from driftwood, some copper they have, and some llama wool. So we try to work with every local material. This is the one in Berlin, which you can visit in a month's time. Advertisement boards and beer tables. And I'm going to end the lecture with this movie for the one in, I think this was on a tropical island somewhere, where part of the construction is changed with bamboo and banana tree leaves and palm leaves. So it would be really interesting to have all these houses made on the planet with all different materials. And that's the end of my lecture. So I'm 5 minutes over time. So over time, that's Dutch. But so now I give the word to Pascal again.
Well, Denis, thank you so much for this beautiful, amazing lecture. I never could have dreamed of how you play with I don't know, with anything? I pick something and you start, I assume. Great, thank you. We are about to come to our next part of this evening. In the second part, we move actually to Russia, and there will be two other speakers who will tell you everything about former Soviet palaces. As I understand, the first one of the Soviet palaces dates from 1890. And in 1975, there were about 135,000 of them. Nowadays, there are only 42,000 left of them. And what will be there in the future happening with them? This will actually our next speakers, Alexei Buev, I'm not sure how to pronounce, sorry, Alexei, and Daria Nogalnova, they will tell you everything about these Soviet palaces. Actually, they both are founder of the Architectural Research Bureau Vizota, and they are head of the study of the system of houses and palaces of culture in Russia, Identity in the Typical. They're both guest teacher at the Amsterdam Academy of Architecture, and they also studied over there, and they obtained an International Master of Architecture degree. Next to that, Alexei also was an architect at the well-known Dutch firm Neutelinx Giedijk. Alexei, Daria, I would like to give the floor to you.
Добрый вечер. Спасибо всем, кто присоединился.
Hello, I would like to say thank you for Denis for his inspiring presentation. И да, здравствуйте, мы рады быть участниками этой прекрасной презентации. И, Дарья, мы начнем с нашего видео, которое коротко расскажет о том, что мы делаем, и представит наш проект.
Yerki, could you please share our video? Thank you.
Palaces of culture. How have they influenced the development of Russian society? Can they be useful to the country in the future? Palaces and houses of culture, a unique typology tracing its history back to the 19th century in the Russian Empire. During the Second Industrial Revolution, factories were built and the country's population moved to cities en masse. At the end of the 19th century, about 80% of the entire population was illiterate. Drinking became the main form of distraction for many workers, a habit which seriously affected the quality of their labor. Industrialists and local authorities realized the scale of the problem and tried to find a solution. It was suggested to encourage workers to spend their free time outside of drinking establishments. This is how the idea of creating people's houses comes into being. People's houses had rooms for recreation and for socializing, as well as for educational classes. In addition, these rooms provided for important social functions, such as an orphanage, a fire brigade, workshops, and even for what could be described as the equivalent of a modern employment center. The buildings varied in size and occupancy. The new type of institution was well established, but the country would soon be in for a great upheaval. The 1920s are the heyday of the avant-garde and constructivism. From now on, the People's House is called the Workers' Club. This time of experiments gave young, talented architects the opportunity to create their own unique projects. The projects of the new workers' clubs are selected through competitions held by labor unions, which would turn into landmarks for the entire world of architecture. In the early years of the Soviet state, the government was wrapped up in searching for the principles of a new typology. In the 30s, the question came up of universal surface to the masses. A palace of culture is not primarily about entertainment. It's a space for the strenuous task of self-education and self-improvement. The scientific progress of the 1950s brings forth a new society. Scientists are the main heroes of the day. The scope of services of the Palace of Culture is determined by the users themselves, by definition members of the union, which, as a consequence, means for the palaces of culture to be relevant and highly wanted. During these days, the standard of half a meter of culture per inhabitant comes to the scene. The rapid growth of cities, and hence the need for new modern palaces of culture, lead design institutes to develop a typology that turns palaces of culture into cultural machines. But big changes are on their way. The main form of expression of the 80s generation is rock. What was forbidden yesterday, today is everywhere. Palaces of culture, trying to adapt to the new times, turn into the cradle of Russian rock culture, supporting young musicians who later grow out to be big stars. But it is not only the culture that is changing, the economy is changing as well. The industrial crisis affects the cultural centers. The palaces of culture are forced to rent premises in order to survive. Privatization and municipalization came up. Plants were getting rid of non-core assets, selling the buildings of the palaces of culture, or handing them over to the city. In the latter, the Palace of Culture continued to serve its task. However, when a Palace of Culture was sold, it could be turned into a supermarket or an office, or the owner, not knowing how to use the building, simply demolished it. This practice is still widespread today. In the early 2000s, the Palaces of Culture had serious competitors in movie theaters and shopping malls, a new leisure activity for young people, which was more attractive than the old-fashioned Palaces of Culture. Is there a place for the system of palaces of culture in post-industrial society? Today, of utmost importance are human thought, creativity, and new ideas. Palaces of culture can and must become a space for the development of human potential. The state and private investors, realizing today's needs, for years have been searching for tools to develop creative industries. An example is the creative clusters in former industrial zones. But as of today, it's still a point solution. This practice can't quickly evolve into a single system that works for the entire country. The crisis of the system of palaces of culture entails not only a lag in the development of creative industries, but also a deterioration of the social situation in society. In huge new neighborhoods, devoid of individuality, it has become the absolute norm not to know one's neighbors, to be afraid to help or to ask for help from those who live nearby. When creating a sustainable platform for creative professionals, it's not necessary to come up with something radically new. A quality upgrade of an already existing system of 42,000 buildings can do the job. In the 21st century, the system of palaces of culture can once again be a relevant and in-demand third place if it takes on the mission of making up for the shortcomings of other institutions in society. Palaces of culture can not only provide services for spiritual development, but also become a place for additional education, collaboration, psychological support, integration of immigrants into a new society, and much more. Today, Russia, like the rest of the world, has entered the era of leaving a resource-dependent economy. Luckily, our country already has a system that, with proper modernization, can serve as the foundation for the development of a new creative economy.
Спасибо большое, что дали поделиться нам. Мы здесь кратко видео рассказывает именно история развития системы домов и дворцов культуры. Мы с Дарьей этим проектом уже занимаемся в течение 3 лет. Начали мы в 2018-2019 году и сейчас активно продвигаем и развиваем эту тему по всей России. Хотелось бы начать немного, как найти какой-то connection с Голландией и немножко раскрыть, что происходит с культурными общественными зданиями. Здесь вот видите районный комьюнити-центр. Сейчас администрация в Голландии избавляется от них, потому что им не хватает денег содержать их. И что они делают? Они создают новые. Дарья, можешь следующий включить? Дарья? Вот. Предыдущий, пожалуйста. Вот. Они избавляются от маленьких, потому что на них уходит очень много затрат, и строят новые, в которых собирают не только комьюнити-центры, в них может находиться и спортивные центры, в них могут находиться и общественные центры, и театр, и музей, и что угодно. Как бы они комбинируют много функций в одном здании. Вот здесь в одном из примеров это здание, бюро, в котором я работал, культурный общественный центр, который находится в городе Амерспорт. И здесь как раз комбинированы вместе библиотека, музей, кафе, кружковые различные. И это нас приводит к мысли, что вообще-то у нас в России, потому что сейчас Голландия в течение 10 лет только это делает, этим занимается, строит вот эту свою новую систему, но в России эта система уже существует в развитом состоянии около 50 лет. Вот. И вот сейчас мы насчитали около 42 тысяч ДК по всей России. У нас была интереснейшая выставка на эту тему. Вот здесь вы видите, можно видеть бесконечный потенциал этой системы. В чем проблема сейчас? В основном государство тратит деньги на здоровье, на образование, но мало денег очень выделяется на культуру. И наш основной посыл, что государство должно опять начать выделять много денег, потому что это позволит развить креативную экономику в России. К сожалению, до 1975 года, как уже Паскаль сказал, эта система развивалась. Это она имела свой максимум. После того, как Советский Союз развалился, в России осталось 72 тысячи, и сейчас уже 42 тысячи. Они все быстрее и быстрее исчезают, потому что нет какой-то идеи. Конечно, идет много программ сейчас по реконструкции. Директора какими-то своими силами, своим видением, что такое красивое, прекрасное, пытаются сделать реконструкцию, но понятно, что такая архитектура, она быстро устаревает, она не отвечает запросам современного человека и нуждается в работе с профессионалом, потому что зачастую при реконструкциях таких зданий архитекторы отсутствуют. Реконструкция происходит только по присутствии строителей и директоров. Также разрабатываются и новые типовые проекты, но опять же они построены на базе тех ДК, которые были сделаны в 70-х. Для того, чтобы глубоко понять проблему, мы изучили всю историю, которая в принципе была рассказана в ролике, я не буду в нее глубоко уходить, но из каждой периода истории, который уже насчитывает около 150-140 лет, мы можем что-то подчеркнуть и использовать, чтобы в будущем опять не совершать каких-то ошибок при реконструкции. Мы работаем на 3 уровнях, на уровне одного ДК, на уровне целого района, потому что директор на своем месте не может решить свою проблему, он должен работать с руководством района или города. И на уровне всей России мы как раз работаем, занимаемся просвещением. Мы пытаемся вернуть интерес к ДК опять, чтобы туда опять пришла молодежь. Начали мы свой проект с воркшопа в Воронеже. Мы организовали при управлении главного архитектора воркшоп, в котором собрали около 40 студентов. И в течение 10 дней мы сделали вот такие огромные прекрасные макеты реконструкции 3 ДК. И город увидел нашу инициативу и выделил деньги на реконструкцию одного, около 60 миллионов. Вот здесь вы видите, в каком состоянии он находился. Там ремонт не видел около 40 лет. И мы сделали разработку эскизного проекта с окружением, с внутрянкой. Мы проанализировали работу самого ДК, узнали, в чем нуждаются сами работники, жители вокруг. И в течение года была проведена реконструкция. Это здание получило огромное признание по всей России. По сути, для нас это была такая начальная точка и такой айконик для нас здание, которое мы везде показываем. и рассказываем, что да, можно из старого советского наследия, что опять же делает наш проект устойчивым, создать что-то интересное. Мы много работаем с художниками, мы занимаемся ребрендингом, мы как бы всегда делаем комплексные проекты. Вот здесь один из примеров, мы работали совместно с одним локальным художником Яном Посадским. Даш, можешь помедленнее щелкать слайды, пожалуйста? С Яном Посадским, и он разработал специальное app-приложение, которое, допустим, вот здесь на одном из фасадов было разрушен барельеф в 90-е годы, и за счет современных технологий было разработано приложение, которое можно было, как вот это бывший барельеф, он выезжал из стены, и можно было вокруг походить и посмотреть, как раньше этот барельеф выглядел. Также, работая над проектом, мы всегда прорабатываем и внутрянку, мы делаем и мебель в проекте, мы делаем и приглашаем для росписи художников. И основной наш как раз вот стейтмент, что если мы разработаем, и мы уже разрабатываем вот это видение, как можно эту систему обновить, внести ее новый дух и как раз позволит быстро наладить развитие креативной экономики по всей России. В следующей части Дарья расскажет, пожалуйста.
Да, спасибо большое, Алексей. Я хочу рассказать про еще один проект реновации. Он начался с архитектурного хакатона в Якутске, и здесь темой была реновация Дома дружбы народов. Это самое большое социокультурное здание в республике. И здесь мы занимались активно поиском именно локальной идентичности этого места.
Быстро щелкаешь, пожалуйста.
Потому что это очень многонациональная республика, и этим зданием пользуются около 150 разных национальностей. И нашей задачей здесь было сделать не какое-то здание, которое относится к какой-то одной национальности, а именно здание, которое олицетворяет вообще дух вообще вот этого региона, этой республики, и является, в принципе, локальным и северным зданием, но при этом оно объединяет в себе идентику разных национальностей. Что еще очень интересно про такие здания, про вот эти социокультурные центры, то, что сейчас там весь административный блок, он находится в разных местах, он находится на разных этажах, он находится в разных частях здания, и находкой было вот в этом случае именно создать для них вот такой открытый такой офис, общественное пространство, которым они могут пользоваться все по очереди. Также в таких зданиях очень часто есть уникальные объекты, вот как такие барельефы, как мозаики, и нашей целью было вернуть, с одной стороны, здание в стиле модернизм городу, и с другой стороны, очень внимательно относиться именно к уникальным объектам, которые там находятся. Еще одно новшество, которое мы здесь сделали. Сейчас это здание, оно имеет такой внутренний двор, но так как Якутск, он находится в зоне вечной мерзлоты, то этим внутренним двором практически никогда никто не пользовался. Но в то же время у города был огромный запрос на какое-то огромное пространство, в котором могут проходить собрания диаспор, могут проходить конференции, пространство, которое вмещало бы в себя большое количество людей. И мы перекрыли внутренний двор, сделав вот такой огромный атриум с естественным светом. Но при этом мы все равно старались максимально сохранить или найти те элементы, которые делали бы это здание, сохраняли бы это здание в том стиле, в котором оно оригинально было построено. Но при этом в городе, опять же, колоссальная нехватка пространств для неформального общения, коворкингов и так далее. То есть все то, чем могут пользоваться молодежь, люди среднего возраста. Поэтому все те пространства, которые там уже есть, мы пытались сделать максимально многофункциональными и открытыми. что сейчас мы поняли, что нельзя решить проблемы дворцов и домов культуры, не признав все те минусы, все эти недостатки, которые сейчас существуют. И мы, проводя анализ, мы понимаем, что сейчас эти здания в основном они не ориентированы на запросы потребителей. Они работают очень неэффективно, они загружены всего на 30%. То есть то, что сейчас, как бы их как их планировка выглядит, как выглядит их архитектура, это очень устарело. При правильной перепланировке, при правильной модернизации они могут работать в 3 раза эффективнее. Опять же, сейчас там происходит очень академичный процесс, то есть там участвуют только те, кто записан в какие-то коллективы, все остальные люди, они даже не являются зрителями этого. Плюс сейчас там очень ограниченная аудитория, в основном это дети и пожилые. Мы посредством архитектуры, посредством функциональной модернизации, мы направляем здание на то, чтобы оно было все-таки для всех возрастов. На уровне региона, опять же, мы видим современные программы, они не учитывают интересы местных сообществ. В проектах редко участвуют архитекторы, чаще всего это просто Министерство строительства. Ну и ряд других проблем, которые мы видим. Но самый главный наш стейтмент нашего проекта, что обязательно все проекты реновации или все новые строящиеся здания, они обязательно должны учитывать идентичность того региона, в котором они строятся. И вообще в масштабе всей страны мы видим сейчас строительный бум. Огромное количество новых районов появляется во всех городах России. При этом та норма, которая существовала в Советском Союзе, что кроме поликлиники и школы обязательно должен быть спортивный комплекс, обязательно должен быть дворец культуры, она сейчас отсутствует. То есть девелопер, он обязан построить только школу и поликлинику. Наш, опять же, манифест это в том, что каждый новый район, он должен иметь свой социокультурный центр, потому что новые районы в отсутствии социокультурного центра очень быстро превращаются в гетто. Мы занимаемся в рамках нашего проекта образовательными, просветительскими проектами. У нас прошла онлайн-программа ДК-21. Сейчас вышла наша книга, в которой мы как раз рассказываем об истории этой системы, которой на сегодняшний день уже около 100 лет. Мы рассказываем о ее текущем состоянии, о всей той ценности, которую несут существующие дома и дворцы культуры, эти здания, и о возможном ее развитии в будущем, и как она действительно может стать фундаментом развития креативной экономики в будущем. Большое спасибо.
Спасибо.
Well, Alexei and Daria, thank you, of course, very, very much for this interesting lecture. I must admit that before we started this MOOC, I did not ever hear about Soviet palaces, and okay, from Holland, but I come already in Russia since 2014. Actually, please, Daria, Denis, and Alexei, come, open your pictures and join. I do have already one question. I'm very curious whether you, Alexei, Daria, whether you, when attended, did you go to these cultural palaces? And actually also from the audience, I would like to see raised hands who attended these ones. Or is it really more from the past?
I think Daria went there. Maybe you can tell.
Yeah, over the last 3 years, I think we have visited about 100 such buildings, and
No,
in different.
I think Pascal meant in your childhood, for example.
Yeah. Oh,
indeed. Thank you.
We all did, all our generation. Maybe for the generation for people who is 20 years old right now, the Palaces of Culture is something quite old. Is something like. Yeah, you don't know what to do there. This is a problem, actually. But when I was a child and Alexei was a child, we all visited these places. It's like really useful social-cultural space where you can do everything. Mm-hmm. The other thing is everything was for free in Soviet Union. So all like piano lessons, singing lessons, dance lessons, you all can visit it for free.
Wow. Yeah. So you went there maybe daily and even in the weekend also, or?
They're open all 7 days.
Wow.
Yeah, they open 7
Yeah.
days.
Amazing.
But
This
one of the problems that now they have competitors like cinema or shopping malls where they have comfort. It's one of the problem of such palaces because they are not updated. They're quite with strict security. It's old grumpy guy that protect you from the street and defend culture from the people. Let's say they really need to update. And some of them, they're updated. They're really looking forward. There are already, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 examples in Russia that we always show as a reference that everything is possible.
Mhm. What I think is great about it, that it's not monofunctional. It's not you go to the cinema or you go to a shopping mall, but maybe when you're playing piano, you think, okay, maybe later I go to the theater, or maybe so that's really great, I think, about
It was
it.
very smart, yeah, because it was quite a long development period of this system, and in certain point it became really like perfect social cultural building, because everything was really well done there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one little practical question. Can we, the audience, there were quite some questions in Russia, but I heard from Jerke. Can we share your presentation with the participants?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
super,
Yeah.
super.
Yes.
Okay. Also, where can we buy the book? Was his question.
It's
You will. Sorry.
yeah. Is it allowed to make promotion?
Wow. I mean,
No, if you Google Tatlin, it's a big architectural publisher in Russia. You can find our book there. It cost about 2,000 euro, and you can even get discount.
Rubles.
No, euros.
Yeah.
Sell.
yeah.
No,
No, it's
actually-
called Identity, and typically you can easily Google it, and it's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's-
information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Actually, when I was preparing questions for you three, I was thinking a little bit. Okay, there is the thing about function which you do have in common, the redefining function of Denis, have finding objects and playing with it, and you giving new function again, new life to the future palaces. What I also was thinking, what came up to me during the speech, is that actually I was thinking I'm going to go back to the Romans. And what I heard that Julius Caesar, he mentioned when the population, when there was not a lot of activities to do, he wanted to have them in shape. And you mentioned in the beginning that drinking of alcohol was quite an issue. So Julius Caesar, he mentioned, well, we should organize brood and spelen, meaning bread and place to play, men at play. Did you ever hear about that? So Denis, actually, I think you getting the people to play.
Yeah. You lost me already when I was thinking. Well, I was thinking of you can also make, of course, a culture palace from the empty vodka bottles, but that's not the issue here. So.
But you make people start to play.
Yeah. It's about changing the way people look at their surroundings, and you can. What we do is we think you can also be the master of your own context by just doing it yourself also. And of course, that's why we have this small project. We don't have big architecture projects because architecture is like a long planning rules thing, and we don't like the rules, so we don't play by the rules, so we just stay small. And in this case also. So, but I really liked the presentation, Alexei and Daria. I love the graphics also, really cool.
Yeah, Super.
I will buy the book, I think, for 2,000 euros. I will send you 2,000 euros and you will sign the book for me. Yeah. No, but I actually recognize some buildings. Of course, I cannot draw really a lot, but I recognize this one. Oh, it's blurred. What is it?
Yeah,
This
it's
one.
it's by Melnikov in Moscow, but we
Melnikov,
use it
yeah.
as an icon because every foreigners know it, let's say, because it was one of the biggest inspirations during their architectural studies. For example, in TU Delft, I know for sure everybody from 70s, they were really inspired by this architecture. And I think it also gave big impact on Dutch architecture. For example, Rem Koolhaas really used as a, Rem Koolhaas used a lot as inspiration for his, let's say, architectural style and so on and so on. I think, but now we try to learn also. I always say Dutch people learn from our avant-garde, and now we do it back. Let's say now we try to learn from Dutch and bring it back to Russia.
The Dutch avant-garde?
No, and not avant-garde. The modern design. What you do, for example.
Oh, this time.
Yeah. This time.
Hey, that's what the smoke is all about, guys. Great.
Yeah. Well, you can buy my book for 4 million euros.
It's okay.
Yeah. Actually, I do have a question from Vera to Alexei or Daria. Do you involve local citizens to your projects?
For example, now Daria had a workshop in Karachaevo-Cherkessia. So we are developing now from zero a new prototype of cultural palaces, and we actually involve locals there and so on and so on. But one of the problem that, for example, we try several times. We just invite parents with of kids who go to this, but you also have to educate people to participate because they ask, for example, strange question. Oh, what's wrong with the ventilation here? Which doesn't. Let's say we are on the beginning, and we have to also educate the people with whom you workshop. Let's say, we try to do it as much as possible. For example, for Karachaevo-Cherkessia, we had big list of questions to locals. What do they want in the future houses, or how they want it? We try to do it. It's really important.
Okay. I think you see it also in Holland that even it's obliged nowadays in some new urban developments that participation should be arranged. So I think it's really good that it's not from top to down. And okay. Denis, a question from you, from Elena. What was the easiest waste material to work with for you? Ooh, the easiest one.
I never had this question. The easiest, well, actually, and that's more part of what Daria and Alexei are doing. I wanted to graduate on the method in architecture called Kerger. And a Kerger is just a cleaning machine. So you like into, because I studied architecture in Delft, and everybody's really about functionality, and like a parking garage can never become something else because it has tilted floors, and I think they're stupid. But I want to graduate on this cleaning machine. You have an empty building and you clean it and then you use it. So the best thing to do is to clean things first and then use it. So it doesn't matter. The cleaning is more important then.
Okay.
So that's an empty building is the easiest thing to reuse. Of course, windows, insulation, insurance.
Okay, but that's for other participants.
But for small material, one of the nicest things that's still, I think, are air conditioning ducts. You know, the air conditioning channels, the square ones, they're really super nice, but you just need a grinder to cut things. So.
Okay, then a completely different one from Tatjana, also for you, Denis. Please let us know how is the process of dismantling a building organized in Holland? Is there some kind of algorithm of actions? Where and how do they store used materials, for examples. So there are 3 in them. The
Yeah.
storage, maybe? Or
Yeah, when I was a partner with 2012 architects, and then now getting famous with the name Superuse, we thought of the harvest mapping and collecting waste materials from construction sites, because the process of building has the most garbage, most waste materials of anything people produce. They now sold, I think, Harvest Map as a separate company to another company. So there are some warehouses in the Netherlands where material is stored for reuse and repurpose. But it's always in architecture, normally all used materials are used within the same function. Like a door is a door, a toilet is a toilet, a window is a window. And of course, we like to make doors from toilets. Yeah, toilet doors. It changed my mind. Like, okay, because I really like to have this function shifting where you can have any object and any function and just change them and see where they end as a design process, as a design tool. But for the first part of the question, I don't know, because I'm not into standard architecture anymore.
Okay, clear. Yeah. Thank you. Next question. Yeah, from the audience, there are a few in Russian, but Jake is translating them for me. Let's see. Yeah, Alexei, Daria, I was questioning the library. Actually, you can say that the typology of a library nowadays in the 21st century is getting less and less because of the books. Okay, I still love books, as you can see, but it's of course all getting online, digital. So there are now new libraries of the 21st centuries. Actually, do you think the cultural palaces, houses of culture, are more or less the same you are doing with them?
It's 2 questions, right?
Well, feel free.
Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of maybe disagree, because I think maybe after pandemic books again getting back, because we are staying more in home, and it's always nice to have book in your hand. And I think it's easy to get information from such a book. I never read PDF books or kind of digital. I hate them. And it's a really good question. And there are already some activities, for example, in Netherlands. There was some research about the Royal Library in Den Haag, because they have a giant storage somewhere, and they want to digitalize every book. And of course, library, it's not a storage of the book. It's where people come, where people see each other, where people communicate. And I think future library, it will be still kind of where people meet, where people discuss. For example, I know a few colleagues from Rotterdam, and they often go to Rotterdam library, just rents a place there and just have discussion. I often, when I'm in Amsterdam, I go to OBA library, and you can just stay there and work with your computer. I think in future library, it's just kind of living room of the city or of the neighborhood. And of course, it's also one of the kind of small problems with our palaces of culture, because actually in Russia, library is developing more and more efficient than renovation of houses of culture, and they even take some audience from cultural palaces, because they organize workshops, they organize meetings, they let's say for I don't know, for some rubles you can rent a place there and organize small meeting. Yeah. And what was the second question? Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. We just continue.
Okay.
If you don't
Okay.
mind.
Yeah.
So, do you see the library maybe as a concurrent of the cultural palace, or can there be 2 of them next to each other?
No. For example, from beginning, I show example, of the project where of the office where I used to work. And there they combine library, they combine let's say, dance classes, they combine museum, they combine, I don't know, everything. I think in future, the library will mutate, yeah, will change, and also palace of culture will change. I think there will be kind of unique new typology in my feeling, because a library, it's the best place. For example, if you got bored in the city center, you can easily enter and just take a chair and read the newspaper there, you know, and wait for your friends, which will arrive in 1 hour later. I think it should be in every city. And
Yeah.
but it's one of the problem. For example, in Moscow, we have this beautiful giant Lenin library, and to get there, it will take you about maybe 1 hour, because you need to have special paper
Yeah.
to enter it. And
Yeah.
of course, and it's one of the problem, the security in Russia, because such a places, they have to be more and more open for citizens, like in Netherlands, for example.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I do have, of course, lots of questions also about being public. As we are mentioning safety, Alexei, that might be etching, that might be. But I go to you, Denis, again, a completely different one from Tatjana. What would you make out of a Kercher? She questions.
Oh, of the machine.
Yeah.
I think you could turn it into a coffee machine.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Some
high
music,
pressure.
please.
So it's high pressure. So, but it depends on the parts, of course. But it's always the same. That's what I like about the project of my colleagues. Like 40,000 sculpture palaces. If you have 40,000 Kercher machines, yeah, you can make a building.
Yeah.
But there's beauty in numbers, and of course, what's in our profession is important, that people should stop mining for new resources. They should just use what is there, and change the function of what's there, and just adapt and take care of their surrounding, because it's actually it's we like things which are in transition, you know, the buildings and scaffolds, etc., or functions that change, but you should be nice to old things. Just love them and take care
In a
of them.
way, I would like to finish with this one. You should be nice with, okay, but
yeah, well, I'm also jumping now, like, can you make this whole culture palace thing in the metaverse? But of course, there's no need for this. Huh?
Okay, Denis, I have a small one from Axam for you. How are exhibits disposed after the show, whether it's a bottle or a refrigerator?
Oh, normally we were asked, like, yeah, we're done with the show. Do you want it back? Do you want your junk back? And like, yeah, okay. So we have our own warehouse with old leftover exhibitions we reuse and reuse and reuse. But normally they stay just for education purposes. But of course, things are to be recycled, downcycled, upcycled, reused. It's more about awareness, to create awareness. But that's why we also started to just rent things and give them back.
Okay. Alexei, Daria, for you, will there be new functions within your palaces? I mean, I heard about these robotics workshop spaces, wood workshop spaces. Maybe completely different ones, but
let's say we kind of, because we are a super realistic project, let's say, we kind of put our architectural ego as low as possible, because we want our ideas be realized. And one of the simplest addition that you can easily make in such places, it's a space, it's co-working. For example, every cultural palace have a small library. Of course, it's not updated, but if you just put their tables and organize Wi-Fi and just put small coffee machine, and it will work. It will start working. I mean, it's really easy. The second thing, it's a comfort. Yeah, it's what also missing in such a places, because You know, for example, 2 days ago, I was in Moscow of visit of some cultural palaces. And when parents are waiting for their kids, which is having some, let's say, studios, they're waiting for 2 hours on benches without back part. Let's say they're just surviving, you know, they're fighting for their kids' culture. And it's a second thing, it's a comfort, yeah. And of course, what is also developing a lot, not in palaces of culture, but around palaces of culture, because there are more and more and more in the city private workshops or ateliers where you can learn how to make ceramic. It's kind of small studios where you by hand can learn things, and they're well organized, but they are not inside because they're kind of not part of the system. It's of course, it's really important to add, if there is in every almost every palace of culture have basement, and you can use that basement. And again, there are already examples where it's working, but there are one big in Krasnoyarsk. It's called Kamenka, and they actually organize such a workshops, but they are private. They let's say, because we're working with a state system, and you understand that it's really a long process, because you have to learn how to talk with the politicians or for government people. They have another way of thinking, and you have to adapt it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe one final question for you, Denis. Are there, I'm not sure from who this one is, but are there a lot of difficulties with sanitation? I think that's legislation for reuse and remodeling in different countries.
Yes, of course. Actually, also in the Netherlands, you're not allowed to work with garbage material as a company, because then you need licenses, etc. As a private person, you can, but if as a company you would like to build like a wall from reused fridges, you're a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like in Russia where someone says no and you don't know who says no, but no means no. But here you also have to talk to legislation and legislation and legislation. But that's also why we are also realistic and only take this part of design and the part of architecture that we can manage, because for us speed is most important. Like, you know, you want to do it now or yesterday or. But I'm really, it's really exciting to see what my colleagues do with the nice palaces. Actually, I have a question for Alexei. Actually, if I may, how is because you talked about comfort in this cultural palaces? How is the heating done in these palaces?
Yeah,
is this sustainable, or is this?
No. It's have several topics. One of the topics, because most of the time, these palaces of culture, they pay for air, because, for example, they really start working from 3 or 5 p.m. and whole morning it's empty, because main users of such a palaces are kids, and kids study at the schools.
Yeah.
And of course, they can't come in a cold building. That's mean it's not efficient. That's why it's important to program such a building 24/7 as maximum as possible. Then it's sustainable. And but comfort, it's not about warm. It's about nice and cozy couch. Which is not there, because you're in a high cultural place where kids learn things about high culture, about folk culture. And it's kind of another mentality. You have to be kind of prepared, and I don't know how to explain it. For example, in Netherlands, you say, hey, let's have a fun, the art is fun, let's experiment, and so on and so on. In Russia, we more focus on the well and good classic, that you really have really good and right skills. That's why we have so much good musicians, because it's about, let's say, repetition and good discipline and so on and so on.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and ballet as well, it's the same story. That's why they're good, because it's about discipline. And parents are not important because they're just waiting for their kids. It doesn't matter how they wait. If they doesn't like, they can go to shopping mall and wait there for 1 hour.
Okay.
It's their problem. And this we try to change, you know, because it's one of the kind of mental problems of the let's say of the people who assist to users, let's say.
May I ask you, sorry, both a
Yeah.
question, Denis and Alexei. How much hours of mathematics did you have in high school, Denis and Alexei?
You mean with all the years I did
No,
double?
no, no, a week. Sorry, a week.
Oh, a week. Mathematics. I
Yeah,
don't know, 3 or 4.
yeah. Alexei?
It's a difficult question.
No, sorry. I heard from a lot of Russian people
I didn't do
that they
school.
had about 12 or 14, 15 hours of mathematics a week. So
Yeah,
that's what I try to.
It could be. It could be. Yeah.
It could be you forgot.
Yeah,
You forgot.
I'm kind of erase my memory from my school time.
Sorry, I just wanted to show that what I heard, that we are having 3 or 4 hours, and I heard that in Russia you have about 12 hours mathematics a week. So that to me expresses
sure.
a lot of differences.
Maybe we should ask our audience because I don't know.
And Jerke, I would like you also to join again.
Yeah.
How much hours of mathematics did you have in?
I was
in
very
high
bad
school?
at it, so I think I skipped mathematics. No, but I know what you mean, of course, Pascal, and I can give an example of what Alexei also saying. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she used to go to ballet in Moscow when we lived there. And she was 3 years old at that time, and she got classical ballet with classical music, and they had to do the faux pas and everything in French, and a very strict teacher. And now she's going to ballet classes in The Hague, in the Netherlands, and they hold hands and they dance around, and that's called ballet. But she was so we don't know what's better. I think it needs to be somewhere in between. And we have people. Yeah, we have people actually saying that they have 7-8 hours a week. Algebra 6 hours, geometry 3 hours for a child of 10 years old. So you see a big.
10 years old.
Yes.
For me, it was high school 4 hours a week.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot to learn from each other, I would say, and that's and I think we have to end this session. I thought it was extremely interesting. Denis, you make me look at all my materials in my home differently. I will not throw out anything anymore. If I can't use it, I will send it to your warehouse.
Okay.
No, but it was really inspiring. And Alexei and Daria, of course, you could not join the Q&A. Thanks. It's very nice. The perks of my work, of course, is that I have this book, and I can recommend everybody. We can do this promotion. Recommend everybody to buy it. It's really beautifully done. It's in Russian and English, and I love these palaces of culture. Pascal, thank you for moderating again. And thank the dear audience for being here. Maybe it's actually nice to mention that the project of Alexei and Daria, it's also supported by a Creative Industries Fund of the Netherlands. Good that that the Netherlands and Russia are working together on this. And of course, Denis has shown that he has been traveling around the world to Kazakhstan and Russia. And I really like all these links that we have. Dear audience, thank you very much for being with us. We have 1 more week left with 2 more lectures, and next Tuesday, 7 o'clock Moscow time, we dive into also a very important topic. We switch again, but it's something that everyone has been discussing in all of our lectures, that we need nature-based solutions to design cities that are resilient and healthy to live and work in. And we'll put their art from Denis and use all the materials that we don't use anymore, and we put a beautiful palace of culture in the middle of these cities to make our life healthy and well, sustainable. Thanks once again to everybody. Looking forward to see you next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. And thank you to the translators, by the way, who are doing a very good job. Thank you, Denis. Thank you, Alexei. Thank you, Pascal.